almost like an anti-Christmas Christmas movie because it's like all the aesthetics are there, but the basics of Christmas, like families and, you know, like Christmas holiday, like none of that's there. So I wasn't really pulling from like other Christmas movies, so to speak. I just kind of wanted it to take place at Christmas. Everything needs to be sensationalized. That's what I do. You know, you're making a movie, you know.
Have you heard from the boys down at the scene yet? They're still down there counting bodies.
So I'm curious, what made you want to make a Christmas horror movie?
Well, I've always wanted to make one, you know. There's not enough. And B, just the aesthetic is so nice. You know, I like sensationalism and like, I love just pure aesthetic in my frames and in how movies look that I make. So Christmas always just lent itself to that. And interestingly enough, for most of my life, it was always like, the movie I want to remake most is Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's got the best iconography of a killer Santa. It's got a cool name, but the story's not like, who cares about the story? It's something you kind of make your own. So I just thought it was the best movie. Like movies like that are primed for remake. So right after VFW and Bliss hit, right before the pandemic, I got asked to pitch on a remake by the rights holders. And I was fucking super excited. So I wrote like this super detailed 12-page pitch that is literally Christmas Bloody Christmas from front to start. And they passed on it. They didn't think that it was enough like the original. The fans are going to be mad. And it's like, well, motherfucker, I'm the fan base.
Yeah.
Who cares? There's a fucking killer Santa. That's all you need.
Yeah.
But they passed. And I ended up writing the script about a year later just because it was like, you know what? I really liked that idea. I own it. It's fucking like, it's an original thing. So I blew through the script and it got made really fast, surprisingly, as an original movie. And I just, like I said, I wanted to throw a curveball to what the original was because I didn't really care about the story really. And I'm obsessed with Terminator. That's why I want to make movies. So, you know, I love that play. So I was like, why don't I make a fucking robot Terminator? I mean, not robot Santa Claus. And it was literally just kind of that, you know, I was probably fucking stoned one night and was like, what about robot? And then, you know, now it's like, oh yeah, that just makes too much sense not to do.
I'm so glad that you had said that because watching it, I'm like, okay, this is Silent Night, Deadly Night in terms of the aesthetic. There's even the toy shop, and then the house itself feels like the house from Silent Night, Deadly Night when Santa comes in and kills the two people and puts them on the whatever deer antlers. Then it turns into Terminator in the second half. Everything about that I got such joy out of. And you also mentioned Black Christmas by name a couple times. Were there any other Christmas horror movies that are like ingrained in the film?
You know, not so much because like it's weird. I was trying to make it's almost like an anti-Christmas Christmas movie because it's like all the aesthetics are there, but the basics of Christmas, like families and, you know, like Christmas holiday, like none of that's there. So I wasn't really pulling from like other Christmas movies, so to speak. I just kind of wanted it to take place at Christmas. And there are so few other Christmas movies I didn't necessarily want to like. Black Christmas, the original, is a fucking masterpiece. But, you know, as far as like aesthetics goes, I love the grainy, dark feel of that, you know, so I maybe pulled a little bit of that. But my all-time favorite like piece of Christmas, I don't know how to describe it, narrative, because it's not a movie, is and All Through the House, the Tales from the Crypt episode that Robert Zemeckis directed.
Yes.
Technically, it should be a movie because if it was part of an anthology movie, it would be considered, and it has the fucking value and production value of that. But that's top, like that gets rotation every fucking year. I love that so goddamn much. So yeah, that's probably like my biggest love and influence of just like, you know, the killer Santa, especially the kid, like, and probably the kid Santa relationship in that is pulled a little bit for the movie, but that's really about it.
One reason I really like Christmas horror movies too is always the lighting, because you always get to play a lot of cool lights. And your lighting is, I think it's some of the most fascinating I've seen in a Christmas movie, because you really play with neon and black light a lot. And I want to talk about what your inspiration for that was, because it gives the whole movie a very different feel than if you had just gone with regular Christmas lights.
Yeah, that's kind of my whole aesthetic. Like I was talking about kind of your vibe here. I mean, like that's how like my apartment is like there's just neon set up everywhere. Like the, you know, walls are dark purple and black and crimson red. And that's just an aesthetic I've always been attracted to. So with all my movies, I always start off with like, I like to start off with a black frame. Almost all my movies take place at night. And I start off with a black frame and then I populate that frame with light. So there's a lot of darkness, but I like putting lights in the environment. I like colored lights. I spend most of my time in fucking metal bars and movie theaters and like dark places. So like, that's just what I know and what I like. So like with my previous movies, Bliss and VFW, I played with a lot of neon lights in those. Like, you know, the bar in VFW is completely lit by neon. Bliss, a lot of clubs that are lit by neon. And that's another reason I like Christmas movies, is because the lighting aesthetically brings, like, there's that colored lighting there. So like when I was going to go make this movie, my dad, it's so funny. My dad's like, so that means you're finally not going to, you know, make a movie filled with neon lighting. And it's like, There's not going to be neon lighting, but then there's going to be entire scenes lit by like red and green. So I really wanted to press the aesthetic and just go into sensationalism with it. Like, like let's have neon in Tori's world because she's not into Christmas, but then the rest of the world is going to be lit by Christmas. And it's like I said, with this frame of blackness, it's like, what if we just lit an entire house that had like wooden paneled walls and dark, murky carpet with that Christmas lights? And then like, what if we had the Christmas lights across the street blinking and that's pushing through, even though it's like never gonna fucking happen? But it's like we have all these elements to set ourselves up for cool ass fucking lighting. I don't care if it's realistic. If you don't think my lighting's realistic, you know what? You're watching a fucking killer robot movie. I'm sorry. Everything needs to be sensationalized. That's what I do. You're making a movie, it just lent itself to it. It's like you could have snow everywhere. There's haze, there's fog, there's fucking colored lights, dark, lit by fire, like, what can we bring to it that's not just normal? Because this isn't a normal Christmas movie. This girl doesn't live a normal life,
And I'm curious too, so you mentioned something of how she doesn't like, her character does not like Christmas, and it's very evident with the dialogue, because she says many things just demeaning the holiday itself, and it's so punchy and so quick. And I'm just wondering, how much is it all scripted, or is there a bit of improv there?
I would say that it's 50-50. A lot of it is scripted, and basically the movie took 2 months to shoot, and we were all together off the grid, and like, she's basically me. Like I wrote the characters like me as a female. She started to her and Sam, the other guy, like Sam, who plays Robbie. There's elements of me too. It's funny because all the opinions, like some of my opinions are in him, some of my opinions in her. So it's like not just, it gave good argument. As we went along, they just got the vibe of me, and we would joke. And then there would be times where like literally that whole scene where they're talking about Black Christmas and Blumhouse and all that, like that wasn't in the script. They were just supposed to get in the car and they drive away and you see Santa behind him. And I was like, guys, we got an extra few hours. Let's fucking try this scene. And you know what? If any of it's bad, I'll cut into it late. Like we'll just do a one. And I wrote on the back of my sides like a 5-page scene really quick. And I gave it to him. And I'm like, I took pictures of it and texted it to him because I only had one copy. And I was like, all right, guys, I'm going to shoot this in like a half an hour. And they're like, what? And then we just did the rehearsal where like they were hitting the beats. And then we were like, it became like this agglomeration where they were improvising stuff. And then like that whole scene, basically we came up with in 3 hours together. And then some of the other stuff, it was like, we would extend, like the beats were there, but then they would add this and I would say, let's throw out this. And then they would throw that. Like, honestly, like the Pet Sematary 2 thing is the only thing that's maybe 100% on script, because that was like the first day of shooting. Argument about the sequels because they don't watch a lot of that stuff. Like those two are on point 100%. The Van Hagar stuff's pretty close. The Soundgarden stuff's pretty close, but then everything else is like, we built out. And then we ended up, like there's probably 10 extra minutes of dialogue in the movie right now that existed that wasn't in the script, but we also cut out an extra 10. So like we were just fucking, it's like, you know what, well, let's just shoot. We're not behind schedule. Let's play it out. And then we were able to kind of form it in post, which was even better. It felt very natural.
Well, I loved that too, just because that's how me and my friends talk. So, and so it's nice to see that represented and done so in such a natural way, because again, natural dialogue is just so tough.
Yeah. And I have friends who are like, the characters talk too much like you're going to turn people off. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Nobody knows me. And you know what? If they don't like the dialogue, then it's not for them. But there are going to be people who like the dialogue, and that's why I fucking wrote it for. I'm not trying to blanket something with a flatline dialogue. So it's like it doesn't, people aren't turned off. It's like I want people to either hate it or love it. I don't want to just be in the middle. I want people to be like, fuck yeah, that speaks to me. And then people are like, that doesn't speak to me. I like that.
I definitely don't think you should just cater to the greater,
No, and not that I ever would, but it's just funny that that's, some people's response.
Yeah. Well, that's not my response. And I really, really enjoyed the film, and I can't wait to see the reaction to it, because I love me a good Christmas horror movie. I
made the movie for people with Chainsaw Massacre posters and colored lighting in their fucking room. So
hell yeah, man.